And a very good evening to everyone. Thank you for joining in on Wednesdays nights for DeFi Talks that's on a coffee session. I've got my Mark with me, the Superman Mark, yeah. And this is a session where anything goes, where I invite crypto enthusiasts around the world, where they actually come in and share their views on the latest movements in the cryptocurrency space. And very much so, I'm very privileged to have three different individuals today joining in the session to actually give us their thoughts on the current DeFi space and the NFT space in the cryptocurrency space. And so, without further ado, before that, general disclaimer: nothing said here in this program is meant for financial advice. You guys got to do your own due diligence. We are here just to talk about all the different projects that's in the space that's making the cryptocurrency space interesting. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to introduce my first guest for the evening, Mr. John from Synergy.
Good evening, Leslie. Good evening, DeFi Singapore. Good to be back.
Thank you. And next up, we have Anish. Anish is in London at this point of time. Hi, Anish.
Hi there. Hi, everyone.
Yeah. And last but not least, we have our Malaysian media personality, Sandra, who's a crypto enthusiast as well. Thank you all for joining us on the show today. Yep. So without further ado, so can we have everyone to introduce yourselves? Let's start with John.
Hey, evening, guys. So I work at Synergy since I emigrated to Malaysia from the UK. I'm compliance officer, and we relaunched our blog, and I'm basically I'm writing the blog, so I'm the main author on the blog. So have a look at blog.synergy.com if you're a newbie and you want to learn a bit about the digital asset space. And hopefully soon we'll have some DeFi related series and NFTs coming up as soon as I've learned enough about the space, which is why I'm here.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John. Anish, you want to give yourself a quick introduction as well?
Sure. Yeah, sure. My name is Anish Mohammed. I actually am the CEO of RSQ Labs. I also happen to be the CTO of KingSwap. So literally, what can I say? I've been in this around the block very long. Early advisor to Ripple from October 2013. One of the original reviewers of the Ethereum orange paper. Mostly do design and design verification. Have done half a dozen blockchains and more than a dozen dApps. Very much interested in DeFi and NFT. In fact, my team and I have put together a course. It's called Decoding DeFi. If anybody is interested in listening to us talk about it, it's just a series of lectures that we decided to put together because a lot of the hedge funds and other people come to us and ask us questions, and we go, this is a complete waste of our time. How many times can we repeat this? Why don't we just do this? Record it once, put it out there, and everybody can listen to it. So I typically teach at various universities. I've taught at various universities around the globe. I have an academic position as well. I guess that's it. I should take my mask off.
Okay, so today you will represent the geeks in the space. Okay, so thank you, Anish, for joining us. Look at the amount of books that he has, right? That's the intellectual that we are dealing with, basically, the intellects, right? Yeah. Sandra, how about you?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me, Leslie. So I've been in the space about 4 years now. I was the former director of partnerships for Zcoin. It was it still exists. It's a privacy cryptocurrency, and currently I am with a wallet. You guys can get that later. But yeah, I think I'm here today though to represent the DeFi.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank
community.
you. Thank you. Yeah, it's been such a long time, right? So the way the show works is as such. Usually after crypto conferences, we kind of hang out together, and so this whole concept of us having coffee together is usually what we want to bring online, right? So, and this is why I'm gathering all the crypto enthusiasts coming together to on the space to actually talk about crypto. Yeah, so Sandra, we met quite some time ago. John as well. First time meeting Anish. Thank you for joining. Yeah, so without further ado, let's just go straight into the latest news. The central bank's digital currencies, right? So John was expressing a little bit on that. So John, you have the floor. You want to start us going?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I just think there's been a lot of news lately. I mean, I'm sure you guys have been following with on the topic of CBDCs, so central bank digital currencies. You've got a lot of activity in that space. So you had the IMF, the Bank of International Settlements, the G20, all coming out with various papers. So the FSB, which is the Financial Stability Board of the G20, came out with a paper on global stablecoins. You had a paper from BIS. You have the IMF calling for a new Bretton Woods moment. Obviously, Bretton Woods is where we came off the gold standard in the 70s. And that was a complete monetary renegotiation. So something of that size, a true Bretton Woods moment with respect to CBDCs is a enormous magnitude. It's like a total renegotiation of the monetary system. So it won't come through. Sorry. Sorry, any?
I was saying it's a shift in paradigm. It's going to be a total shift in paradigm.
That's right.
Total paradigm shift. Exactly. I mean, you're talking about possibly the end of the US dollar as the reserve currency. You could be talking about debt jubilees, with central banks being able to not only implement negative interest rates on your savings, they'll also be able to give a positive interest rate to a group of students, while a negative interest rate to wealthy boomers, right? So they can actually create incentives with these, interest rates. Obviously, PayPal is a big story. We'll get to that. And there's some serious things going on there. I mean, the noise has been there for a few years, but they're definitely committed. And you're seeing all the right international organizations. So Bank of International Settlements, IMF, World Bank, G20. That doesn't get any higher than that. So, I mean, they're definitely coming. And for the IMF to call a new Bretton Woods moment, I think that's a really major, a really big deal, which people should be thinking about. And obviously, we can all have our own opinions whether CBDCs are going to be a good thing or a bad thing. I personally, I'm up in the air. I think there are positives and negatives. Like, obviously, every single transaction that you do using these things will be A, visible to the government, B, taxable. But then, so that's kind of the negative sides. And then your positives are, if they can create incentives like higher interest rates for, the less well off, lower interest to encourage them to save, and then, much lower interest rates for the wealthy. They can do something about the inequality gap. So that's kind of, the more positive side, if you will. I mean, depending on how benevolent they are with, they could just give the best interest rate to their mates, right? I mean,
yeah.
To be honest. And so, at the end of the day, I mean, we get to the stage where it all comes down to, this is why we Bitcoin, right? Because we prepare for the worst. And so, yeah, I mean, that's just what, I wanted to share on that. I mean, what do you guys think?
What do you guys think about like personal data though? Once
Yeah, I mean,
our privacy is.
Yeah,
what do you guys
that's something I was about to say. Like that's both good sides and bad sides. So I'll put my hand up and say I had actually talked to a bunch of central bankers prior to this, because I had a zero knowledge based startup which was trying to do something at the edge of CBDCs in that sense. So my impression was some countries care about privacy, some countries don't care that much about privacy. And I think the moment every node that we actually touch is known to every other person in the world, we have a significant challenge. The notion of privacy that we defined until now will disappear instantaneously. So I think, I am a very ardent believer in zero knowledge proofs, and my handle is zero knowledge, and I've been interested in zero knowledge for the last 20 years. Woo-hoo! Yeah, I know Zcoin, your founder is known to me. He actually asked me for help a long while ago. So, full disclaimer. So there are good parts to it. The good part is exactly what John was saying. I would like to add a couple more things to what John was saying. One of the very good things is right now, when they introduce a monetary policy, it takes a lag time. They introduce a policy, it takes 3 months, 6 months, 12 months to understand what the implications of that is. Whereas this, they can actually do instantaneously. They can do A/B testing while they're deploying the policies. There is also the other thing. Yeah, absolutely. And they don't get they don't have a real sense of a feeling of what is actually happening in the economy. So, for example, if we deploy like a zero knowledge prover onto the network, when COVID hits, they know instantaneously which sectors are going to be affected, and they could do their simulation and back testing. Right now, there's two different things. If you take any monetary forecast for any country, and you look at the curve, firstly, getting two economists, like if all of us were economists, we could actually have at least 4 different opinions, the very least, right? So that's the very least, okay? That's like if everybody's having the same cup of coffee. If you had 4 different cups of coffee, we'll have 16 good opinions on this. So, it depends on what time you ask, right? So literally speaking, if you look at the curve diverges very fast, right? And the thing here is, if you had the ability to deploy CBDCs, you could actually help that. And then the challenge that John was also mentioning about the US dollar. Right now, if you think about the world economy, the Achilles heel of world economy at this moment in time could be possibly US dollar, right? If your US dollar takes a significant challenge, as in if the US Treasury bonds for any reason somebody believes are going to be defaulted, there's already yield inversion, right? It's like the yield for the longer run is more valuable than the short run. So that actually shows that people think thing is going to hit the fan, right? Brown substance is going to hit the rotating surface. So in that sense, we already have all the indications of everything happening. Once we actually have CBDCs, and once we actually have a settlement mechanism that is far more efficient, transparent, and I would like to be privacy preserving. I would like it to be at least 2 ways. In the way I think is I would like it to have both transaction privacy and identity privacy. Transaction privacy is if I give John $100 or I give Sandra $100, my the identity privacy in this context is me and Sandra, right? Where's the transaction starting? Where's the transaction ending? The transaction privacy is how much did I send to her, right? Or how much should she send to me? And the thing here is, because of the KYC AML thing, I would like to have the ability to do a glass break mechanism. What I mean by that is if there is a challenge to somebody that they have done something and the threshold of the proof is achieved, we can actually implement this cryptographically by having an oracle or an arbiter of sorts who keeps a copy of a key in an MPC sense, a multi-party compute sense. So you go to a code, the code says to them, release the key, and when that key is released, then you can actually reveal these transactions. Something like this have to be put in place, because otherwise they're not going to support us. And whatever they might think, So this is my understanding from actually talking to, central bankers from at least 3 countries. So they are, some of them are very clued up. I was pleasantly surprised to talk to them, and it was so nice to talk to central bankers who understood all the technology. But I think politics and technology and policy doesn't always go together.
What do you guys think about kind of the philosophy of what we believe in, right? Like blockchain cryptocurrency is decentralized. But when CBDCs actually do come out, and
I think this is
it like a closed
no.
blockchain?
Let me
Like,
let me share my thinking. Yeah, let me share my thinking. So you can shoot me down, right? So this is how I think. No, let's be very honest about the world, right? I see the world in two ways. You have a whole bunch of castles, okay, and a whole bunch of bazaars. We, the crypto hardcore people, believe in the bazaars. So for me, I am not a hardcore, what do I call, a believer, okay? I have built more protocols than most people in the world. In a sense, like I helped Ripple, and then I walked across Ethereum. I helped them. Then I built DEFI. I built a few more, which I can't say for legal reasons, right? So I don't have a religious affiliation to anything. I believe in the technology, and I believe it is really valuable for humanity, and that's the reason I put in my effort into this. Okay, so the other co-religionists all made money. I got insights. Okay, so we can see my lifestyle hasn't changed. It's the same, right? No, it's a pretty honest assessment of facts, right? So what I'm saying here is like the current. You should think. You should look at history and look at how castles failed, right? So castles were very effective at some point in history until cannons got strong enough to penetrate all the castle walls, right? Until then, the best strategy or dominant strategy, game theoretic sense, was having castles. And these castles accumulated massive amounts of wealth, right? That's the same thing that's happening in the current economy. We have 80 to 120 trillion of assets in castles, and we have a very tiny amount, a microscopic 10 to the power minus 3, right, amount of assets around in the open economy, right? And you also should look at the other side. I want to give you the other side of this argument, in a sense, how evolution has happened. Look at open source versus Windows, right? So I have been in open source since kernel 096. Okay, so I can put my hand on my heart and say I saw all this, and I'm happy to say that Microsoft have flipped, right? They turned around and now they run Azure. What the hell is running in Azure? They use everything, right? They wrote a Python stack. I can't believe it. Like, so when open source wins, everybody else turns code. So the way I think about it is, two things are going to happen, or three things are going to happen. Number one, let me start with the models, and then I will go down. The model that I expect is going to happen immediately in the short to medium term is a hybrid model. The reason for a hybrid model is we need to have validators, and we need to have this entities that will provide proofs. They need to be a bridge between the centralized world and the decentralized world. The best way to do that at this moment in time, because we don't have, let's not kid ourselves. Identity is the key for everybody. Everybody says, like, we don't need identity. Think for yourself. Can you swap your face for somebody else's face? Will you be comfortable in doing that? Will you be able to swap your body for somebody else's? That's what literally you're talking when you're talking about switching identities. So your identity is something you really crave for. And part of the reason why we are on this call is we all love our identities. And our ideas are a part of our identity, right? We expose ourselves to the world as our identity. So what I'm saying here is, like, we need to have hybrid mechanisms. That's this hybrid infrastructure, which is what I suspect most of the CBDCs would be, at least in the short to medium term future, will actually have entities run or approved by the central governments to run certain things, right? So that will allow us to integrate between the so-called castles and the bazaar, right? I believe the bazaar will have the opportunity to interact. The castle have the opportunity to interact, because castles always have this special relationship with the centers of power, right? I wouldn't be surprised if JP Morgan and all the bigger investment banks of the world will get a license to do whatever crap they want to do, right? I would never be surprised. Sorry to put it that way, right? That's reality, right? They pay the largest amount of fine in the whole world. You go, this is interesting, right?
Just write the check and move on.
Just optimistic. Yeah, sorry, John, you were saying something?
No, I was just being facetious. They just write the check and move on, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You need to have a loss function calculation, right? So they employ some of the most expensive lawyers in the world, and they have so many cases going on. Oh yeah, there you go. There's somebody in the audience is saying things. So,
Simon is in the house.
yeah.
Yes.
Yo.
Yeah. So the situation here is like, if the lawyers are not that efficient, they shouldn't have lawyers, and they should just pay the fine. So they're only paying a very small fraction of the fine. So you know what the hell is happening. So going back to a second thing, right? So the value has to go from the centralized thing into the decentralized one, because our own, we don't have the ability to create value and accrue value and manage value. So even though we might think decentralization is the way to go, it will be very hard for us to actually get anything done for ourselves unless the people who believe in decentralization do the farming, become doctors, do everything in the world, right?
Yeah.
This bridge in philosophy. You know what I'm saying, right?
It feels a bit like the innovation is occurring in a decentralized space, and then it's just getting forked or copied, whatever you want to call it, into your castles, your decentralized, centralized, Binance are offering, Luno's are coming out with an earning wallet. Binance have sort of DeFi related products. OKX doing the same thing. So it feels like the centralized space are taking away some of the, are kind of jumping on the bandwagon, if that makes sense. Whether or not they can provide the same service, I don't know. What's your view?
Yeah, I was about to add something to this. It's a very interesting observation, John. You actually nailed it on its head. So in my mind, the exchanges are not decentralized entities. They are a real representation of centralized entities in the crypto space, because their legs on the other side is completely in a centralized world. They have banks backing them. No exchange would exist if the banks don't give them credit or they don't allow them to use a bank account. So they are completely, held down to the KYC, AML, or the government requirement, whatever that is. So they might talk whatever they want, but in reality, they are part of the castle. They are the dog keepers of the castle, right? I mean, I can't get an account in Binance because I don't have a second proof of identity, as in like I don't have an address. So I can't get an account, okay? So I am one of the idiots. I mean, if they want to prove me, they can look at the honest paper of Ethereum, or a lot of shit, right? My name is over there. Sorry to put it that way, right?
We'll talk
they're telling me
to CZ about it.
Yeah, I've met CZ.
What's going on,
met
man?
CZ. He should recognize me. So it's not a question of not recognizing me. So the question here is like, if I have that hard a difficulty in proving myself, can you imagine the difficulty of an average citizen? So to me, the kind of exchanges and those set of entities are really, in many ways, mirroring the behavior of banks and other entities in the centralized world.
Great.
That's my take.
Anish, thanks for such a detailed intellectual conversation that we're having now. We do have a question earlier by Eka. Thanks, Eka, for supporting the channel. Woohoo! Yeah. So he's asking, will banks start running CBDC's nodes? Right. So no reason for their existence already. It sure seems that way. So in your opinion, do you think that's happening, or that's going to happen?
I mean, think of what banks do. Okay, what banks do is governments give banks a license to print money. So guess what that implies, right? In a CBDC world, that implies right? So apologies for being cynic.
Oh, no worries. Youngster will be wearing the mask, actually, to be honest. I should give you a mask as well. Yeah, that's funny, man. John, in your opinion, what do you think in terms of the banks? Will they start having their own nodes?
I don't know. I mean, I think Anish is the person to answer that question. I really don't. I would love to know how long he thinks it would take the central banks to roll out the CBD. Yeah. So, I mean, if we take today, is it 1 year, 2 year, 3 years out from Bitcoin, for example, or euro or whatever? I mean, in terms of the banks, it feels Go ahead, Nish.
No, I was about to answer your question. I was about to say China is probably going to be the first. I give it between 18 to 24 months before China really hit the road running. They already have lots of pieces moving. Then there are a few other people who are looking at it.
They already distributed in some cities.
Yeah, it's
Already.
just that
I think
on that note, guys, those newbies who are looking at this channel, please don't just listen to any project who claims that they are the issuers of the Chinese CBDCs. Okay, so please do your own due diligence. This is a scam warning to everyone to help you guys understand it better. We do have like projects claiming that they are the ones that's issuing it. You really need to do your own due diligence as to whether they are the actual ones or from the banks themselves. So you should take a approach of wait and see as well. Obviously, the CBDCs, they're going to perform a stable function of the value that's going to be created, and so there shouldn't be a speculative nature to it, in my opinion, basically. So somebody who tells you that he's selling you at 1 cent for $1 for the CBDC, you should be quite wary about it, basically. Anish is laughing.
I think the idea is that the CBDCs will be stable coins.
Yeah.
I would assume, but not necessarily.
In a sense, stablecoin is not an actual way of describing it. I would probably slightly, what I'm saying, right? So they are the, imagine them to be the arbiters of the rate setting mechanism. So instead of actually having an algorithmic mechanism, as I was describing, they might deploy a prover or a verifier on the network, and based on their economic policies, they might, imagine Argentina if they had a CBDC,
Oh, yes.
I think economically speaking, the idea is to allow everybody to inflate at the same time.
That's right.
Currently, we have this currency war scenario where it's kind of currency war or just regions taking turns to inflate, right? It'd be the US and then Europe, then China, kind of like in a merry-go-round, and affects the FX rates. But whereas if you have everybody on the sort of the same kind of CBDC, led by not the same CBDC, but like a basket of CBDCs, maybe connected to SDR, and then there are things that I think they can do from a global monetary policy standpoint. But, I mean, that's kind of speculative at this moment. But,
thank you guys for your insights on CBDCs, and thank you Anish and John for such intellectual conversation that we have today. I think it's the first on the channel that we have such a heavy topic, basically, and usually we have a lot of fun, basically, right? We are supposed to ask Sandra about the DeFi stuff, basically, and what she's been doing about it in the space itself. So Sandra, over to you. You have the floor. Come, please share with us, man.
So I know a lot of people are looking into ETH for yield farming, but I'm not sure if you guys know about BSC, which is the Binance Smart Chain that launched 1st September. It's basically like an ETH clone, but a lot of people are arguing that their codes are a bit messy, and I mean, I don't know about that, but as a user, on the user standpoint, because I'm not a developer, I wouldn't know how to look at the source codes. But for me as a user, as an end user, it is a lot faster, and the gas fees is a lot lower. So that's a good thing for me. And within a month and a half launch, there's so many projects that's been building on BSC. Like I'm not sure if you guys heard of Pancake Swap, which is
I just heard of that.
What CZ tweeted, it's shaping up to be the Uniswap of BSC.
Binance, right?
Yeah. And then they also have this very interesting project coming up called Battle Pets, where you can like farm pets, through like they call it GameFi. So basically, you can hatch eggs. It's like CryptoKitties,
Mhm.
but like a more advanced version of that. So you can like battle other pets and battle other people, and if you win, you get their token back. So it's a game farming
Yeah.
situation, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But I would be interested to know what Anish think about all this yield farming degen stuff.
Yeah. Over to you, Anish. Yeah.
Anish, are you yield farming? Are you a degen farmer?
He's programming his own, Sandra. He already
Oh,
programmed his own. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's part of a team
it's
called King Swap, for your information. So yeah, so you could
okay.
share a little bit more on that actually. Yeah. Anish, over
Which
to you.
which chain are you building on?
we currently on
Ethereum.
Ethereum.
Yeah.
So
Come on,
Yeah.
Sandra.
So slow.
Fine.
It's so slow.
look, we can have this conversation. Literally, one of the things we plan to do immediately on our project is to improve layer 2, right? And we are thinking of layer 3 bridging. So as a guy who's actually designed, okay, you can look at DEV.io. I was one of the designers for the thing. So to me, design, there are trade-offs, okay? So when you talk about Binance, I'm kind of wondering, look, is this a good thing to happen, right? The way I'm asking the question here is like, we were just talking about DeFi, and we were previously talking about decentralization, and we have an exchange running a protocol. To me, that is a very bad sign, unless the exchange literally gives away its right to do governance, because that's like you being the jailer and keeping the keys, right? Like you're the prisoner, you're keeping the keys, right? So it's a very misaligned incentive, a massively misaligned incentive, right? And exchanges over history, I've been around when Mt. Gox happened, okay? So I know what happened, right? I don't know how many of the people around on this call really remember what happened in Mt. Gox. So to me, as somebody who did research in cryptography, I know what to be done to prove certain things and how things should be done. But I haven't actually seen that level of sophistication, even from people like Binance, okay? They don't really seem to value the level of transparency I would love to see. Everybody talks, oh, we want to have decentralization. Decentralization means a few things. We need to have very good governance, okay? This governance should be transparent to everybody, and everybody should have a fair chance.
Oh, we lost
Oh.
Anish. Oh dear. Whoops. Oh no. For some reason, we've lost Anish. Maybe in London itself.
In the meantime, though, while we're waiting for Anish, I have
Yeah.
something to say. Remember,
Yes.
he was mentioning a hybrid model that
Mhm.
we have to adopt, for CBDCs.
Uh-huh.
I think this is a fair point for Binance. I mean, they are kind of a hybrid right now, so.
We've got Anish
Yeah.
back.
I don't know
Yeah,
if Anish
sorry,
heard that.
my connection got dropped. Sorry,
While
you were saying something.
while you were away, I was mentioning that you mentioned about the hybrid model for CBDCs earlier. So why is this different then? Because I'm sure. Well, CZ just tweeted that BSC is not under his control, but I just think that he's just trying to put away his responsibility if anything happens. But the point is, wouldn't this then be the hybrid model? Like the
No, it
beginning
will be
of
very
the hybrid
different,
model
right?
that you're
Okay.
talking
Let
about.
me ask a question. Let me ask this question. Do you have the ability to vote ZZ out of his CEO position? No.
No.
As a citizen of a country, has the ability to vote out my, prime minister, right? So my vote is counted. So when the CBDC hybrid model happens, when the governments come in, I have the ability as a citizen to use my vote to inform my thinking about what their policies are. Whereas I have absolutely zero ability to influence any of the exchange holders. I know a lot of these guys, okay, just to be very clear, right? And I've been watching them, right? So I know what they've done as well, very, very well. I don't want to be saying anything in public.
Sure.
So it's an interest. Look, let's put it this way: you should always think of entrepreneurs and people who are in anything shady as having a similar attribute. There's a legal arbitrage always they apply, right? And what I'm saying is, if the CBDCs apply, this is my very simple statement. If CDBCs apply the same legal arbitrage against average citizen like me, I don't think that's fair, because I have no ability to actually vote him out.
Yep, that's right.
This is all I'm saying.
Because currently in the world itself, we do have democracy in terms of having the ability to vote as a citizen of the country, right? So and you're using the funds and all. Great point, Anish. So you were saying something about before you got cut off earlier. I'm not sure. Can we even remember what was happening?
I can't remember. Oh, yeah. They was talking about throughputs. Okay, let me talk about throughputs, right? The throughput question is the following. Okay, throughput question is like, how can you get better throughput? Okay, there are multiple ways to get throughput. Say, for example, you could look at plasma, different variants of plasma cache, plasma that, essentially rollups and sharding. Okay, not a big deal. Then there's ZK rollups, both using SNARKs and STARKs, right? So each of them has trade-offs. Like SNARKs need setup, STARKs doesn't need setup. The security parameters for both of them are different. The primitives that give them security is also different. So it is possible to actually have layer 2 optimizations to actually get high throughput and low gas costs, right? But now the question is the incentive alignment problem. And I would probably point something at the larger exchanges, right? Let me put it this way. The chances of actually doing efficient protocols has been around for a while. I think the people who would lose out immediately are the miners and the exchanges. And the funniest thing is, a lot of the people who run exchanges were initially miners. So my expectation is they still have some investment. And if you take the two sets of people who actually control even ecosystem like Bitcoin, okay, even if you wanted to have a BIP, the BIP has to happen. There is a lot of politics. That's why Lightning is a good, interesting example, right? And there are other examples that are out there. I was part of a team which were trying to propose some optimization, part of some other people, right? But nothing happened because we saw the vested interest. So when we think about governments and in CBDCs and them trying to, the central banks playing their game, I think in the current crypto ecosystem, I would strongly point to players, ecosystem players, who are either miners, massive miners, or exchanges. They really control this. They are the real gatekeepers. Imagine you are a project. Simplest question is, how the hell do you list your tokens? If you can't list your tokens, what's happening? So who is the gatekeeper?
Yeah, right. John, you're part of a centralized exchange. Your thoughts on this, on what Anish has just mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit different. I mean, we're certainly new kids on the block, and we're also highly regulated, so we're actually restricted from what we can list anyway. But yeah, I mean, he's absolutely right. And gatekeepers in the sense that at this point, for crypto to grow, fiat must decline, right? You need money coming out of fiat into crypto, and the only way to do that is via a fiat on ramp, which tends to be a regulated exchange. So, that's also another, in a sense, the gatekeeper of the castle, to go back to his metaphor. So yeah, I think he's right on that. So I mean, I'm not sure. I'm like, can you clarify your point, Anisha? But like, I mean, are you saying that exchanges are holding back on the layer, preventing like layer 2, layer 3
okay,
scaling?
I was just saying there is a small challenge, misaligned incentive, right? So on the short term, if you have a layer 2 optimization, the yield they have, right, from actually having this transaction, both per mine. So there's a very strong correlation between, if you analyze data out there, you can see a very strong correlation between a whole bunch of miners and their actions correlated to exchanges, right? I'll explain more. Like when exchanges do dubious things, you can actually see some of the transactions being bundled and signed. There's a paper by a bunch of guys from I think UC Berkeley and Alberta, right? You can look at the paper. And it is obvious. You can look at this and you can see, okay, there is this game being played. Two sets of people who have very aligned economic incentives. Now, as you rightly know, if you have a layer 2 optimization, part of the fees that comes into you will disappear. Okay, you are part of the ecosystem. Yeah, there you go. So I don't have data to say this, but in a logical sense, if you are an adversary, you look at this, you go, okay, I'm a logical actor. I have to work with somebody else who's going to make money out of this. And at least in the short term, given my investment, it's in my best interest not to have any massive layer 2 optimization. But in the long term, I will win again. But, that's when transactions increase, exchanges will make more money. But that's a long-term thing. This is a funny question for the Dayham, right? Like, shall I take the amount of money I get? So the real thing is that what the paper says is, if you look at the miners and the true value of transactions in Bitcoin, the value should be like 343 or something. The pricing that has actually happened was less than that, probably like 100 million less. So that kind of shows that there's some collusion in the mining that's happening. That's what they're kind of suggesting, right? So if that is happening at that level, I believe that reflects a larger problem in the ecosystem rather than a localized problem.
Interesting. Right. Yep. So let's go on to our next topic. I guess that's we've talked about CBDCs. We talk about some of the DeFi protocols that's available in the market. Specifically, Sandra's favorite for a specific project or an exchange that came up with a project with low in gas fees. I think that's the interest, right?
It's just for practical purposes.
Yes. For traders,
I'm not a maximalist for any chain.
But I guess that's a good point, good valid point, because all traders they just want to go for the lowest gas fees, isn't it? Because I myself was a recipient of high gas fees, basically, to send X amount of Ethereum or Bitcoin back then when the network was just congested. It makes no sense at all, basically. So totally agree on that. Yeah, and users will just move, right? If another one comes up and is cheaper, I guess that's just the way traders will migrate over as well. So let's go into our favorite topic for the night itself, NFTs, guys. So yeah, I'm gonna share my screen, and we're just gonna talk shit about NFTs, okay, guys? Yeah, this is our favorite part of the segment. There you go. Man stares at the computer for 20 minutes. How on earth is this an NFT? Oh my gosh. Okay. You guys want to comment on this? Yeah. It's so silly, right? Someone just loads up and then says, this is an NFT, and it's just going for, I don't know how much is this going for, man.
There's also
the
crypto finally girl. She's uploading her selfies
Really?
and having only 100 or something photos of her selfies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one selfie sells for, I don't know how much. It's like a crazy amount.
No kidding. Serious?
Yeah. It's a selfie of her in a top that is nearly transparent.
Okay,
I see.
Yeah. OpenSea is still having a lot of
This competition for spring chain.
I can't seem to load the page for some reason. OpenSea has been giving us a lot of issues for this since day one.
He's on Rarible.
On Rarible?
Yeah.
The reason why I don't want to show Rarible is because the community is against Rarible. Yeah, but then again,
there's always gonna be people against something, right? Like,
yeah, I'm sure.
You just gotta go with the flow,
Yeah. Crypto finally, right? That's
yeah.
Maybe we should get her on the show. Do you know her personally, Sandra? Do you know her personally, Sandra?
No.
No? Okay. Oh, there you go. Is that her?
There's a load of
Oh, no, not this one.
Not this? Okay.
I think think it's one word. Maybe try one word.
Okay. Oh, there you
Oh, there
go.
you go. That one.
What? It's
Yeah.
NFT too, and it's good.
Well, at least she
And-
makes an effort to edit the background.
Check it out.
Oh.
Yeah, 27 people actually bought this for 0.07
What the hell?
ether.
It's a sad reflection.
Yeah, that's
People
like
actually buy this, but I mean, it's pretty. In fairness, I mean, like it's caused such an uproar that it's just a simple selfie, and it was extremely well timed. So, like in terms of PR for the NFT space in her account, she's probably done really well out of it.
yeah.
But I mean,
It's like a
there are just-
redefinition of what it's like a redefinition of what art is supposed to be, and a person's selfie can be taken as art. I'm not sure if this is her, but this like 10 friends of her drawing something, but at least this is like art, right, instead of selfie, right? So yeah, cool. 27, and this is 8 out of 75. Wow. For 0.1 ETH, that's $50. So this is more valuable than this selfie for some reason or another. Yeah.
There's also another site called Super Rare,
Yeah.
and I think they have
you go.
to
Yeah.
vet the artist, right?
This is
They
a
have
bit
like a vetting
more.
process.
Yeah. This is
So
a
I
bit
think
more.
it's more
arty.
legit in
Yeah.
that way, and I think NFTs should go through that kind of vetting process instead of like just you being able to create any NFTs you want with a selfie.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's my thought about it.
The gatekeepers, right, for actual
Yeah.
real original content, basically. Yeah.
By the way, guys, if you think about art world, there's a book I would recommend,
Mm-hmm.
and the art world is really funny.
You want
So I
to
was
send
gonna-
in the link? Yeah, just type in the
I
link.
have to find. Yeah, I have to find the book. It's somewhere here. This is a problem.
Wow, this check this out, man. This is going for 5,007, man, and this is like constant moving.
What the-
Interesting,
I
man.
think the highest in art NFT that sold on Super Rare was like 13 grand or something.
Wow.
I think we can actually
Somebody's
check it
making
out
real
somewhere.
money.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was just thinking.
to talking about curate.
Sorry, John. Go
Go
for
ahead,
it.
Anish.
No. I was about to say
No, I
some
was just,
ridiculous stuff. So go for it.
Okay. No, I
John,
mean, on the
yeah.
curation point, I mean, if you look at the art world, the modern art world, it's curated, right? I mean, there's so much out there, you're like, but essentially the way the market works is the buyers of art who, questionably buying these modern art pieces for millions and millions of dollars need someone to tell them who's the best guy. And then they decide who the best guy is. And then everyone buys those paintings, and it's a great vehicle for money laundering. So, I mean, that's the kind of my cynical point of view, but I think the NFT art space will evolve in a similar way. I mean, there's a billion people that can possibly make NFTs. Nobody's going to be able to sift through all of them. So you're going to need curators, but then you have people stepping into the space telling you who's good and who isn't, right? So I think you need both. I think you need curated platforms, and you need like absolutely anything goes, because maybe you do find a gem in there.
Right, that's right. Yeah.
For days and days and days and days and days at crypto finally selfies.
Yeah.
But if you can get through all that, you might find a gem, and it might be worth it. So I think they'll need both.
Eka has just mentioned over here the rare Batman NFTs going for a record of 540 ether.
Wow.
So I've got
Wow.
the interestingly enough, I have the link that's already pre-app. So Ika, either you are with me or somehow we are mentally connected. So there you go. Actually, this is actually really cool art. I'm a comics fan. Huge fan. And these guys are just the comics world itself has very good artists, but unfortunately they do not know and understand about the blockchain enough, and so collaborations like this actually help to bring them an additional income. And what this does is actually gives a opportunity for them to actually earn a lot more than what they are being paid for, because art museums or they take a huge commission cut from them, and this digitalized art platforms that we are talking about, they take a very small fraction as well, so they actually tend to have a lot more. The only thing is marketing, right? Obviously, so crypto finally obviously has that marketing extra tangent, right? So of having a selfie, Sandra, you're laughing away. Come on, what do you want to comment? You want to comment on something? I saw that laughter.
No, I mean, she has great marketing from her Twitter. I'm not sure if you guys seen her Twitter,
No.
but she does like cryptocurrency music videos. She does like sexy dances, and she like tells you about Bitcoin. She's like, look at me sexy dancing, but I'm telling you about Bitcoin. I mean, yeah.
Well, that's
I
nice.
mean, it works. So whatever works.
Yeah, clearly. This is what I was about to say. Not all of us can do that. You could probably suggest somebody, but I, in my wildest dreams, however hard I try, I can't dance. So there is no chance of help.
Everyone has their own talents.
Anish, it was a good one, man. Yeah.
I don't think. Look, guys, it's unfair. I should probably say this is very unfair. Everybody says there should be, proportional representation. There should be a lot of the people like us who can't dance, who are not that good looking, should have a fair chance.
Hey, to be fair, the man staring at the screen is also going for quite a high price, right? He's not that great looking.
Thanks, Sandra. Oh gosh, that is what the session is for. We talk shit about this, right? Yeah. Oh well. Today, I think today's announcement was that Uniswap is actually on CoinHako. So great news for people who are on CoinHako in Singapore itself. You get to have to be part of the governance process with Uniswap. Do take note of this. Good platforms, with good collaborations, tying up with each other. So this is something that is a good announcement as well. Yeah, let me just share the screen again. There you go. Yeah, so Uniswap today's date is Uniswap on CoinHako now. Last but not least, let's talk about John was attending Anish's AMA for King Swap. We're going to talk about King Swap now. Anish, you want to give some heads up on this? Basically, a quick rundown on the project. But for your information, guys, this is not sponsored. Okay, so we're just doing a friend a favor here. We think that the project is interesting for it to be made mention here. So Anish is on the team itself. There you go. He's called the Roy Smith, all things tech. So that's why you have the quick outburst over earlier on this. Sandra, just to let you know, that's who Anish is, right? He's the one that's programming this, basically. A free shout out for you, and obviously Dunstan is in the team as well. Yeah, so there you go. Anish, you have the floor.
So full disclaimer, I am not programming it. I do all
I'm sorry.
technical stuff. Yeah. I have programmers that actually I do look at the code. Dunstan does help. That's a very good team. So the key differentiator is like, how do you create yield, and how can you be efficient, and how can you actually, all the questions you ask, literally, that's what King Swap is trying to do. Literally, how can you attract people? And you obviously wrote on Dunstan, so he's a avid gamer, and he's one of the co-founders. He really was like, guys, we need to differentiate. We need to really look at NFTs as a way to really do things, and that's where that bit started. And then, like, geeky people like me, and I kind of saying, like what Sandra was pointing at. Okay, there is a massive problem in having, the massive challenge of throughput and massive challenge of, having to pay so much fees. And then there was Malcolm, who's a legal person. He's pointing at, look, guys, there's a massive governance problem. Most projects in this space don't have anybody who you could point at being legally responsible, open, and transparent. So that's
right.
that bit. And then it comes back to me, and I go, guys, we have Ethereum at one end. There are other protocols that are developing on the other side. We should probably be thinking of other ones too. So we are looking at Algorand, we are looking at Polkadot, we are looking at Cosmos. So, in summary, this is like our vision of DeFi, how we think it should be. It's our attempt. We are not saying we're the best, but we definitely give it a try. So it's like try bootstrap the DeFi space by doing things slightly differently, looking at it the way the gamers would look at it, try improve the efficiency so everybody gets a chance to actually collaborate and, make some yield. Then, allow people to actually find the right protocol which is appropriate for whatever you're doing and still be able to participate in things. So pretty much this is what we are trying to do, and really show some amount of governance. So, have a legal entity, have people that are responsible. So, transparency and governance.
Interesting.
That's all.
And thanks, Anish, for the clarification earlier. And yes, this is a disclaimer again. Most of the DeFi projects are experimental at this point of time because they are trying to better the ecosystem out there. So please do your own due diligence. This is not a promotion for any projects out there. We just think that the team behind it is there for that reason. I was about to ask John, the questions, but there you go, Anish. There you go. Everyone's asking for NFT airdrops. You've got to buy the NFT, Eka. Then you're gonna get the airdrops. Yeah. John, you had a question on something with regards to that.
Oh, no, go ahead, Sandra. I think Anish has covered most of it. I'll let Sandra ask away.
Oh, I was gonna say this is just me being
Sandra. Yes.
picky. Yeah, just for the sake of discussion, right? There's a lot of DeFi projects that is launching the NFT collectibles, but what exactly is the use of the NFT? Like, how do you farm it? I mean, it's DeFi. But how is it? Does NFT fit in DeFi? You know what I mean?
Sandra, that's a trade secret, man. We cannot say, man.
I mean, just looking at like.
No. Can I try answering that if you don't mind?
Sure.
She actually rolled her eyes.
No, I didn't roll my eye. My eye is dry. It's dry.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, Anish.
Anish, yes.
So the thing I was about to say, you were talking about art, right? You know how the art market works. Literally the art market works is like, looking at perceived scarcity, right? Perceived scarcity, and that's a pricing mechanism. NFT is literally you can do the same thing. So combine NFT with DeFi, you can literally do what the art market does. So if you really want to build, so essentially what is happening in an art market, and if you have been watching it for the last 20 years, one of the biggest areas of growth is Far East. China actually now has a very large fraction of, it's being used as an asset class, right? And if you really ask this question, is art worth that much? I don't know. I'm not an artist. Again, as I was saying, I have no ability to dance, no ability to sing. What are my chances, right? So, I need, I can be a skeptical observer and say things. So, I see all the possibilities still exist. It's just a question of people being willing and able to do what they need. So if all the artists literally switch from using, pen and paper or whatever that they use to paint, I think it's paint and brush. Okay. I don't know, whatever that is. And go into the digital world. And then they actually have all the tools that we have in the DeFi world. It can truly be transformational. The amount of money that's there in the art is enormous. So to me, I'll give you another example that's more known to me. So I do play games. Again, Dunstan and other people in this group, I know they play games. So in fact, I wrote a paper about security of gaming more than 14 years ago. It's called Final Fantasy Secure Gaming. This was when somebody was killed. Yeah, nice. So somebody was killed for stealing a sword. So the response to that was we wrote a paper saying how to do securely, right? So there is other opportunities there too. You could actually get NFTs from games, literally deploy that on DeFi. We could actually have a market. So it's just that innovation hasn't really happened in that sense. So I would love that to happen. I mean, literally all the guys in our team, pretty much all of them are gamers. So we would love, literally that thing to happen. Like all the things we actually have in gaming world be transparent to us in that sense. So we could actually have a whole market. And similarly, if the real art market would like to move over to blockchain, we'd be happy too. I mean, we are offering in DeFi, what we're offering is all the tools they have in the traditional market. So what we have in art market is an illiquid market, illiquid asset class. And what DeFi actually provides is this tool that will actually allow secondary liquidity to any liquid asset class. So to me, putting on my financial engineering hat on, I would say, we should be able to do it. But then I am not the guy who runs an exchange. I am not the guy who runs a mining operation. I don't have any of these abilities. Nor do I have money.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's a nice disclaimer, Anish. Well, we've come to, we are quite sharp today in terms of our time frame. I really appreciate you guys for coming on board. We have come to the end of the session actually for 1 hour, and we did cover for once after so many sessions all three subject matters that we want to talk about. Yes, that's cool. So John, you actually want to message Anish something, right? So I guess Anish, do take note of this. Either way, John, if you can't get him, you can message Dunstan, to hook us together. Really appreciate to you, the three of my guests today for coming onto the channel today. Anish, it's been a pleasure. Although it's the first time seeing you guys, you personally, I've heard your name so much from Dunstan. Really, thank you for coming on the show. Sandra, it's always been, a pleasure. It's been too long. Since you're in Singapore, we should meet up, right? With Dunstan as well. And John, I hope everything else is still safe in KL for you. You guys are going through the third round now of the circuit. Yeah. Singapore is missing Malaysia. We want to cross into JB, but we can't go into JB. But till the end of the year.
Some good Malaysian food, man.
Exactly, man.
Hopefully there'll be a corridor. Travel corridor.
Yeah, hopefully. Everyone stay safe. So thank you all for coming on the session. I hope to have you guys again on my show. I hope you guys had fun as well. Appreciate much on this, and we will close up the session as well. Thank you very much. Thank you, Eka. Thank you to all the fans who are tuning in. Please remember to like and share the channel. We need all your support that you can give. And thank you very much. All right.
Thank you.
Yes. Thanks, guys. Good night.
Bye.